Greetings, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am so glad you're here.
Greetings. My name is the Revolutionary Matron, and my show is called The Learning Curve. I broadcast on a network called KWAZ Radio. There are other hosts on the network I'd like you to meet.
Greetings, everyone. This is Koku from the Bitter Medicine Podcast, inviting you to tune in to the Bitter Medicine Podcast on KWAZ Radio.
Peace, family. This is Oni, inviting you to listen to the pro-black perspective, where black problems are addressed with black solutions.
This is D Webb with the Harsh Reality Podcast, asking you to tune in where we tackle the news of the day that affects our community, only on KWAZ Radio.
The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed here belong solely to the respondent, and they do not necessarily reflect any broadcast networks, affiliates, nor sponsors. The Learning Curve is a broadcast created for the benefit of my global community. Black is a consciousness. Content is being used for our commentary, research, criticism, education, scholarship, teaching, preaching, and news reporting. No copyright infringement is intended. I will make enunciation mistakes. I will give you my opinion about the information. And if you ever ask, I will send you my source.
Yesterday, we learned about the life of Carlos A. Cooks. Today, we're going to read some of his writings. What is the African Nationalist Pioneer Movement, or the ANPM, which was the movement he started? In his own words, the African Nationalist Pioneer Movement is an educational, instructive, constructive, and expansive society. It is composed of people desirous of bringing the establishment of a progressive, dignified, cultural, fraternal, and racial confraternity among the African people of the world. So it's meant to touch all aspects of the African life and bring about brotherhood, especially with charitable contributions towards each other. The members pledge themselves to devote their knowledge, physical energy, private fortunes, and sacred honor to ameliorate the tragic inequalities and medieval backwardness that the universal status of the race reflects. So everywhere all over the world, there's this medieval backwardness that's plaguing our race, and this organization is meant to get rid of it. We hold these conditions to be a challenge to our manhood and an insult to the aristocracy of our noble race. Whereas every sovereign state in Europe is ruled and controlled by Europeans, the landmass of Asia is governed by Asiatics, the Arabs dominate Arabia, and Jewish aspirations have been satisfied by the creation of the state of Israel, or as we call it, Is-It-Real. Africa is the only continent that at the time was completely dominated by the tyrannic alien yoke of European plunderers with the approval of the so-called United Nations and the active support of the Christian churches of all denominations. So all of the Christian churches were on board for somebody being over Africa except Black people at the time. Greetings, Pro-Black Perspective and the Forecast Radio. How y'all doing tonight? Certainly, no Black man with blood of Africans coursing through his veins can live in good conscience accepting these conditions that a power-drunk white world has conspired to perpetuate an unoffending people. The African Nationalist Pioneer Movement realizes that the world is organized in homogeneous segments. In the light of existing circumstances, the African nationalist pioneer movement advocates, as a matter of self-defense and survival, a racial hegemony of the African at home and abroad that will resurrect the nobility, courage, and resourcefulness that once typified African character. It rejects all ideas for racial improvement that do not emanate from within the group, so we reject white influence. It denies all standards of beauty that do not represent the vibrant characteristics of the African race. It heeds no voice but our own on the issue of racial policy and denounces all religions that perpetuate the myth of white supremacy and the fallacy of divine adjudication. We believe in the principle of self-determination for all races and submit that the Black people of Harlem and all homogenous African communities have the same moral and natural right to be clannish in their patronage as other people have dramatized that they are. We advocate, as a matter of sound racial economy, the Buy Black campaign. Patronize your own race. Build a solid foundation for your children. Help create employment and independence for your race. So his opening statements about what the ANPM was doing was about being able to improve the esteem of the Black man and putting them on a level where all other races already were, and to build an economy. Because if you're not building an economy, then you're not doing anything for your people because they have nothing to rely on. Greetings, Bwana Haguziki. How are you today? Part 2, what we know. The African nationalist pioneer movement advocates the uniting of all people of the African ethnic group into one healthy, vigorous Black race. We are against miscegenation or race suicide, which includes integration. We are against rich Blacks marrying poor whites, which happens all the time. We believe in the purity of the Black race and the purity of all other races. We are against the white race or any race taking advantage of Black women. We know that the Black race is as good as any other, therefore it should be proud of itself as other races are. We know that the social, political, and physical separation of all races, to the extent that they may promote their own ideals and civilization and the privilege of trading and doing business with each other, is positively necessary. You see that? It's positively necessary that each group separate and promote their own ideals and civilization and trade and do business with each other. We know that nature has drawn indelible lines forever restricting the Black and white races upon being integrated from living equally free. We know that the communist white man as well as the capitalist white man stand on one platform where it concerns the Black man. That is white supremacy. We know that the Mongolians are interested in their own security. The Arabs have shown by their record as slave traders that they would gladly exploit the Blacks and Africa as they are currently doing through Mohammedanism. We know that the idea of God was conceived by man, hence man made God. Brotherhood among men is possible only between members of any one given race. These were his ideals. He put them down on paper. We know that the rights of Black men must be achieved and maintained by Blacks. We adhere to one cause, one goal, one destiny. We know that the Black race's salvation cannot be attained within the realm of any religion or apologetic Uncle Tom leadership. It must be Black nationalism or eternal vassalage. We are against the caste names, whether Negro, colored, sepia, tan, or what have you. We prefer to be called what we are, Black men and Black women. We strongly advocate the promotion of a powerful Black nation in Africa. Africa for the Africans. Every other group has their land. We believe in the political and physical independence of all men. We advocate complete economic control by Blacks of all African communities in America, creating thereby self-determination and racial pride. We say, buy Black so that your children will revere your memory. Patronize your own people's business enterprises. Build a solvent economic future. We know that we are not obliged to or bound by the opinions of others. Therefore, we are entitled to our own opinions and the right to guide our own destiny. So as you can see, he continued on his campaign. What is sepia? Sepia is the red, is like reddish brown. It's a color. It's a color. It's a color, the reddish brown people. And lastly, we're going to be reading Code Afrique. As a member of the African Nationalist Pioneer Movement, I will devoutly live my life in such a manner that the best interests of my race will be served. I further pledge that I shall do everything in my power to bring about the liberation of Africa from the tentacles of European colonialism. I do now declare that my philosophical outlook on life shall be that of admiration and fondness for people and things that are my race, and of administration and fondness for people and things that are of my race and heritage. If indeed there is any physical beauty in the world, then as far as I am concerned, it is incarnate in the physical likeness of my own people. My primary goal shall be to bring about nationalist unity and understanding within the community of my race to the extent that they would be able to implement a policy of self-determination. Domestically, I shall always respect the wives or amorous of my co-nationalists and behave towards them with honor and respect. So there was no sleeping around. I shall always practice charity and benevolence to members of my race and shall be especially helpful to the members of my organization whenever they may need assistance. When Africa strikes physically for freedom, I shall volunteer as a soldier fighting my people's battle. All these things I pledge as a man and as a Black nationalist. If I should fail to honor this pledge, which I have affixed my seal, then may honorable men scorn me and my children stone me, and may my name be listed amongst the infamous names of traitors, so that generations to come will look upon my progeny with hostility and scorn. So he included a blessing and a curse when it came to Black nationalism. Greetings, Anthony McPhail. How are you today? So he included a blessing and a curse when it came to Black nationalism. He talked about the fact that this organization was for the uplift and benefit of his people and to unify Black people, not just socially, not just culturally, but economically. And that's one of the reasons why he was such a threat. Because once you start talking about economics, they begin to look at you differently and they recognize that you see where the real power is. Number 4, why Black nationalism? The only permanent solution for the race is Black nationalism. Briefly reviewing the situation with a keen analytic mind, taking all factors into account from the incipiency of chattel slavery to the present, The facts are self-evident that it was never the intention of the white race, after having brought blacks from Africa to the Western world and enslavement, to permit their former slaves to cohabitate with their masters' daughters or enjoy the same social, political, or economic position in the scheme of their governmental order. So it was never their plan for us to be equal. The Negro was educated to think and act in the interest of white supremacy. We know that. In the schools, Black children were taught all great men were white. Whenever the textbooks do mention the Black race, it is in connection with slavery or the cotton field. In church, the Holy Bible is used to prove the white man's superiority in passages such as, "You've got to be washed by the blood of the Lamb until you become whiter than snow before you may enter into the kingdom of heaven." Jesus is supposed to be white. Angels are white. God and all his heavenly hosts are white. The devil and all his imps in hell are supposed to be Black. In the motion pictures, their method of attack is based on typifying Negroes as a lazy, good for nothing race suited only to be porters and scrub women. Africa is portrayed as a vast jungle, swampland, and desert where fierce savages live. Prior to the advent of Marcus Garvey, Negroes to a great extent were taken in by the above-mentioned type of hokum, or bullsnot, or foolishness. However, Garvey propounded the doctrine of a Black God for Black people, and when we think of hell, the devil, and all his imps, we think of a white hell and a white devil and white imps. As to the Black race being lazy and good for nothing, Garvey proved without a shadow of a reasonable doubt that the Black race did enjoy a highly cultured civilization at Carthage, Nineveh, Nubia, Egypt, Ethiopia, Dahomey, and Timbuktu. Before the white race came out of their caves in Europe, before they stopped eating the flesh of their dead relatives and using the skulls of their conquered dead for utensils, Black men and women were navigating the 7 seas, weaving cloth, writing calendars, smelting iron, building beautiful cities, embalming the dead, sculpting their images in stone, and building pyramids in Africa. Garvey's contention was that if government is good for the white man of Europe and America, if government is good for the Japanese, if Irishmen could fight the British for 600 years in order to control their own governmental destiny, then certainly government should be good for the Black race. We do not oppose Hitler or Churchill when they say Europe for the Europeans. We do not oppose the Japanese national claims of Asia for the Asiatics. Neither do we oppose Roosevelt's policy of the Americas for the Americans. We do know that we are right in claiming Africa for the Africans at home and abroad. Greetings, Sister Ra. With a firm conviction of the justice of our cause, we shall continue to expound African nationalism until every Black man, woman, and child is aroused to the consciousness of building a government of their own on the shores of continental Africa. So that's the answer to the question, why Black nationalism? Fundamentalism, a call to action. The African nationalist pioneer movement, cognizant of the rapid current of world events, realizes that there is a crying need and demand by the people of the African ethnic group for a clear-cut, concise, and positive program of action. This is needed if the tragic and miserable conditions that they have endured these many centuries is to be corrected, and if the African race can be led along the pathway of progress and advancement. We of the African Nationalist Pioneer Movement have made a study of the basic ills and afflictions of our people. After examining the potentials of institutions and organizations that are supposed to be solving our race's problems, our survey indicates that those organizations and institutions are nothing but hirelings. They are in the pay to the enemy. They are in the pay to the enemy to frustrate the hopes and stymie and divert the natural drivers of a confused people. We do know that we live in a world where the basic impulse of man has been and is the perseverance of his species, the security of his hearth and home, the ecstatic feeling of pride and self, the admiration of kith and kin. These have been the drives of man urging him to build empires to further this end. He has established his nations and secured and maintained the necessary weapons and armies to ensure world acceptance and respect of his manly majesty. Racial identity is the magnet fusing and welding people of the same physiognomy together for mutual advancement. Hence, we have white supremacy based not on merits of the individual white man, but rather the collective strength of the organized white world. Around this principle, the white man plundered the world and subjugated and exploited the black, brown, and yellow people for over 300 years. The primary cause of inciting disunity was the rallying call of white supremacy. We are not arguing the moral right of his conduct, nor are we extolling his fates. All we are establishing is that the record shows we have the colored people numbering 2,500,000,000 people. That becomes an easy prey for the white race, which is outnumbered 5 to 1. The margin of difference there being that they, the white men, were organized and the non white races were disorganized against themselves. The moral here is so simple that even a fool should be able to learn a lesson from it. Racial unity reflects the margin of difference that has made possible for the white man to wipe out the Australian Bushman and the American Red Indian, plus 2/3 of Africa and all of South America. This has been the sorrow of the millions of barefoot, naked, and hungry people working in the stinking mines of South Africa, the grimy death of Lorenzo Marquez, the banana patches of Central and South America, and the weltering rubber plantations of Liberia. These people have been unpaid, unfed, and unclad. These conditions are crying out, challenging the very soul and indeed the very manhood of men to stand up and be a man, to rally to the call of orthodox nationalism. What do we offer as a solution? The Black people of the United States of America and the Western world read the handwriting on the wall. You have no permanent future in America. There will be no integration for you. Your problem is lack of status. World status shall only be yours when you resettle yourself on the continent of Africa, the land of your ancestors. You must build there a government, a racial empire, a hegemony capable of defending and protecting the aristocracy of the Black man the world over wherever he may reside, from Cape to Cairo, from Conakry to Venezuela, from Lagos to the mountains of the moon. The tricolors of red, black, and green flutter in the breeze, symbolizing the strength of a Black nation on the ready with combat gear, a Black Army, Navy, and Air Force. It is always tense, anxious, and ready to prove the right of the Black man to live on this earth, to be respected by all other peoples of the world, and to have his women treated as ladies and his children accorded with the condescension that children are entitled to. We submit that this condition can be created by the productive ingenuity of the Black man's determination to assert himself on the basis of race, not integration or religion, but on the basis of the Black man's infatuation with the grandeur of his person, the excellence of his race, and the vitality of his species to equal, if not excel, all others. We are therefore calling upon and challenging the manhood of our race to rally and make the conditions we have just described become a reality. This can be done. This shall be done. This will be done if the Black man embraces Black nationalism as enunciated by the African Nationalist Pioneer Movement. So, greetings, everyone. How are you all doing tonight? Those are some of the thoughts of Carlos A. Cooks. Would you like to hear the Nationalist Manifesto before we go tonight? Or did anyone have anything they wanted to say about what they've heard already? Because Carlos A. Cooks was thinking about solving big Black problems from a Garvey perspective long before the Black Power movement of the 60s. He was predominantly the one that they say led to the Black Power movement in the 60s. All right, so I'm getting cries for the manifesto. The Nationalist Manifesto. The time is at hand when the Black man must pause and take serious note of the rapid current of world events. Life for the people of African stock has been for the past 3 centuries a relentless struggle for survival, but not so much against the forces of nature, nay, or no. Nature blessed the African race with the richest of all conditions and continents, and the finest of all climates. It has equipped the Black man with the greatest and most rugged physique among men, with Black women whose wholesome beauty, sparkling eyes, rhythmic gait, warm, tender smile, cheerful and affectionate disposition cannot be excelled or rivaled by any other female. Greetings, Bawana Haguziki. How are you today?
I'm. How are you, matron? I'm good. I just have a question. I don't want to. I don't want you to stop from reading. I just have a question for you.
Hmm.
Why do you think that we in the Western world, despite these ideas that were so prevalent during Carlos Cook's time, during the time of Marcus Garvey, Elijah Muhammad, and all these great leaders, why do you think that we in the Western world have not taken up these ideas in mass? There have been, I'm sure there are many of us who have been, who've read these ideas and decided to take up these ideas as a reality, in our daily lives. But why do you think in mass that Black people in the Western world, despite these ideas being so prevalent and well thought out, why do you think we as a people have not taken the opportunity to actually have these ideas lived out? Because I don't see the problem with these ideas. I don't see the. I'm just so you are an intelligent system, more intelligent than all of us in the panel. I want to know what you think, or why do you think that we have not collectively decided to say, hey, this seems like the best option because the options that we took so far, it seems that is it's almost like we are gonna decide to live integrated. We are gonna decide to be a part of the system rather than doing something for ourselves collectively or becoming a power in the world unto ourselves. Rather than that, we decided to say, hey, we're going to just accept our fate as part of the plantation and work within the plantation themselves itself. That's the only question I had, and I'll just let you continue reading, and I'll wait for your answer offline. But good night to you, sister.
Good night, brother. I think there are a lot of reasons why that particular mentality exists. I think the first reason is they make the cost of living so high that we become slaves to the cost of living, as has been said by many other African writers and thought leaders. I think that they keep us busy working a job and in their system, hoping that we will be integrated into it without any real progress towards that integration. I think that we don't teach our children that integration is death and that integration and amalgamation is a part of their scheme. Oh, Brother Bakari says, repeat Bawana's question again. I missed it. He's why, with all of these great ideas and this nationalist movement and these ideas that have been out here and prevalent for so long for Black people, why in the West don't we adopt these ideas? That was how I understood his question. Why in the West haven't we adopted these ideas? These ideas are not new ideas. These ideas have been well thought out. These problems have been labored and lamented over. We recognize that these problems exist. So, why in the West haven't we adopted these ideas? And predominantly, I think it's because they keep us busy working a job because we have to live. We were born in the West. And so, there are some things that we have to deal with. We have to figure out a way to live and a way to exist on this planet. Greetings, Brother Bakari. How are you tonight?
I'm absolutely magnificent. How are you?
Wonderful. I'm wonderful tonight.
You're wonderful all the time. Every time you read and I hear your voice, you're wonderful. Even if you don't think so, I know so.
Thank you so much. So, yes, so those are the reasons why I think that they keep us busy working a job because we are enslaved to the cost of living in the West. We don't have time to, these ideas are not popularized because we have too many distractions in the West. Whether it's the newest movie or it's the newest fad or some other dumb thing, some other prank or some other comedy or some other entertainment. We have a lot of distractions in the West. And ultimately, at the end of the day, these ideas are not popularized. We're not taught that integration is death, but it is. So what did you want to say tonight, Brother Bakari?
I was just gonna make it plain and simple. You
All
so
right.
nice when you answered it. You so nice the way you answered that question. You are so nice. That was an excellent political answer. And I'm gonna say it like this, and Bawana ran because he saw me in the chat and he knew I was gonna come. We got too many people that still believe, I'm just gonna be honest with you, that we got too many Black people that believe in white supremacy. We got too many Black people that scared. We got too many of that Black people, when we talk about doing something, they worried about how white people thinking. They worried about how white people see. That's it. I'm gonna be honest. I ain't gonna just always put it on white people and what they doing. Sometimes we got to look in the mirror and talk about what we doing and what we are not doing. That ain't letting nobody off the hook either. But we so concerned about them, we won't even change our habits. We don't even think about being in a position of power. We truly believe I'm gonna tell you, 98% of this social media Black folks might as well be John Wayne. Because if you ask them, they will tell you they believe in white supremacy. That's why they have a problem when I say I don't believe in it. It ain't no such thing when it come to me. As long as you believe in them being supreme and you have that mindset, you ain't gonna never get out of this. Because how can you do something with people you see as supreme? How can you do something with somebody you see as being superior to you? You can't whoop them because they superior. We believe in them being superior sometime, I believe, more than they do.
Mm. Bawana
It's on
Haguzuki
proof.
has rejoined our conversation. I guess he said he heard the challenge.
I don't know why my uncle Bakari think I'm running away from him. I ain't even into him. Listen, I just
Yeah.
want I
Yeah,
just
because I
wanted to
call your name.
no, I
Go ahead,
forgot.
Bawana. I'm sorry.
No, I forgot about something. The brothers under the sound of my voice, right? Matron is really the one of the few ladies who I see that she's running a bunch of old men, even in her lecturing and reading audiobooks. Audiobooks are very important to our community, and audiobooks is something that's missing, especially the very important audiobooks that she reads. I am saying for her labor, I am imploring the brothers to contribute, even if something a month, because she is reading books every month, and this is a task that she has decided to take on. I feel like it's a very important task. We don't have the audiobooks of these kinds of things that's out here, and before the YouTube gets canceled, finally gets canceled because of the things that we say online. I think that is a valuable contribution, and I think that she should be paid for her effort. So I just wanted to let the brothers know that. I don't know if she has a cash app up. And I wanted to say the cash app doesn't work in the Bahamas, matron. So I don't know if you have a PayPal account. So if you don't, please get one so I could contribute as well. But don't let this laborious task go unturned, and just contribute and assist her. Give her something for all the reading she's doing and educating the people who would listen to her. That's all I wanted to say. I'm out. Brother Bakari, if you think I run from you, that's your business. I'll see you in your next show. I'm out. I'm out.
You
Thank you
always
so
run.
much,
That's why you're
Bawana.
out.
Thank you so much, Bawana.
Hey, tell them you right. Tell them, Matron. You should tell them run that damn cash app. Tell them, I be telling them for you run that damn cash app.
Run the
But
cash
I just
app.
want no run that damn cash app. You look, black people respond to being spoken to like that. I
I
hate to
don't
say
think that those black people are listening to me read.
it, run it. But I just wanted to answer that question, and I wanted to call Bawana name because I like messing with Bawana. But
Mhm. Well, yeah, and there
we
is a manhood problem. There was a manhood problem he was identifying even at that time during this writing that, the man must stand up as a man. Even Carlos Cook said that, because it's easy to cower in the presence of someone else and let somebody else work out your problems. It's easy. Chancellor Williams even said that some black leaders are looking and waiting for the solution to be served up to them on a silver platter, the solution to black problems, when really and truly we need to work out our own problems. So we have to get to the point where we're standing on our own reality and build on our own two legs and building our own reality.
You're correct, because the people we look at and want to be like, white folk, who we think is supreme, and as Bawana say, if we do something, they're gonna be strategized. And I don't believe Bawana think we know how to strategize. Yeah, Bawana, I'm gonna still call your name. But anyway, they know I'm clowning with him though. But it's back to what Garvey said. Any leadership that teaches you to depend on another race is a leadership that will enslave you. And I'm gonna go back to what I said last night. What people in Burkina Faso taking their stuff back from the French, that's cool. But you calling Russia in to use your resources to build something for you. What is Russia getting? We still sit down and depend on other people. Even over here, when they talking about asking white folks, cut the check, they give us reparations. I ask this question and people get mad. I say, so what if they don't give you reparations? What are you willing to do? Well, it ain't gonna be no armed revolution. That's what some of the YouTube gangsters say. Ain't gonna. I know it ain't gonna be there, and they know it ain't gonna be there. So they ain't gonna give you nothing. They know you ain't gonna fight. They can look, man. They can smell most of us. Them white folks know they done marked their territory. They listen to YouTube. In case black folks don't know, they be listening to black YouTube while we calling them supreme. while we calling them superior, while we calling one another the N-word. They listen to black folks. They hear us calling them supreme. They hear us calling them superior. They hear us begging them. But when they had problems, what they did when the pilgrim was running, they got their ass on a ship, went around the world and found somewhere to live. They took land. They planted their flag. You can read the Christian doctrine of discovery. They planted their flag. They took stuff. They even took they took us from our land and brought us here. Now all of a sudden we think they're gonna give us something. If they ain't, we don't want to fight physically. We don't want to fight economically. We don't want to fight because that fight, you got to stare that 10,000-pound gorilla in the face. And that gorilla is called white folk, right? And everybody ain't black is white. I'm going to make that plain. We don't want to hold our money. Our stronghold, our power, our strength is in our neighborhoods and in our communities. We on YouTube, that's great. But how many people in the streets saying this? How many people coming in your neighborhood saying this? Anybody? Don't nobody have no fear of us. We get no respect. None. Anybody can just prop up in our neighborhood. They ain't worried about nothing. They ain't worried about nobody saying nothing. We can do whatever the hell we want to do. Because the black men too busy arguing with their black woman. The black man is too busy being jealous of the black woman instead of being on the front line saying, you know what, we gonna change this. That's why my name up here, Intro de Mail. Or
I'm
y'all
gonna
can
just
look at that.
I just give me 1 second. Let me respond to Sister Rob because we're gonna read the manifesto in full tomorrow. I'm gonna let you talk about what we've read tonight and discuss the things that are prevalent in your consciousness. So, Sister Ra, I understand if you have to go. We'll read the manifesto and the integrationist trap tomorrow. Okay, go ahead.
Raw, I'm glad you can't stand to hear me no more. They can't
That
stand to hear me
wasn't
because I ain't gonna.
necessary.
No, but she put it in the chat. I'm not mad. The thing about it is, I'm not mad. It doesn't bother me when people say that. But they have a problem. I'm not gonna just sit around and talk about what white people do, what they did to us, and how bad they treat us. Look in the damn mirror and how we gonna stop it. Why is that a problem? Me talking about looking in the mirror, self-reflected, and how we gonna stop it is a problem. But constantly showing us in a position of weakness is not a problem. That's the problem for me. So I just wanted to answer Buwana. I just wanted to answer Buwana question. Why don't we? I wanted to give my answer. I'm not saying my answer is the only answer that's correct, because it's not. Because Buwana said, why don't we use these ideas? We don't use these ideas because we, in my opinion, well, it's not my opinion. We can listen to social media and just hear black people talk. We believe in white supremacy as much as John Wayne did. We believe white people is superior. So you can't use those ideas when you feel somebody is superior to you. They're just like asking a male cheater. They're just like asking a cheater, why don't you go over there and fight that pride of lion? Shit, that cheater know what's gonna happen. He gonna turn and go. He gonna turn and go the other way. When it comes to that line, fighting ain't even on his mind. I can run fast, so I'm gonna outrun them. They superior in strength. They bite force. They superior in everything except me running. And when it comes to them white folks, them Europeans, them Arabs, them Orientals, the Hispanics, they are superior to us when it kept playing a football or basketball or talking about the knowledge that we've acquired. In order to get out of this, it's gonna take work. And I just wanted to answer your question. And I'm gonna get off here, Matron. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
That's not a problem. Thank you, Brother Bakari. I appreciate you. Did you have any other thoughts about some of Carlos Cook's? Oh, I wanted to know if you had any other thoughts about some of Carlos Cook's ideas and ideologies about the fact that as Black people, we need to depend on ourselves because every other race depends on themselves. That the white man went all over the world and plundered and exploited all other peoples of the world, and it seems like no one is stopping him. It feels like we put ourselves in a position of childlike or subjugation to him because we feel as though we're not able to stand up on our own 2 feet and actually challenge him. But we have the means to challenge him economically. We have the means to control our culture. We have the means to stop believing in myths that deify a white that deify whiteness over blackness. Hi, Brother Bakari.
Hey, look, I had to come when you said what I have to say about him saying we have to do for self.
Mm-hmm.
We most definitely have to do for ourselves. And like I said, I go back to what His Excellency, the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey said. Any leadership that teach you to depend on another race is a leadership that go enslave you. It's like we afraid. And my Bible told me, Pat Bennett, Ogunda Bay, they told me to stop calling people cowards, and I ain't trying to call nobody no coward. But we seem like we are afraid to get off the white man titty, for the lack of a better word. We want them to continue to breastfeed us. We are like children, a lot of us. How many, Matron, I know you heard this. How many times have you heard a Black person say, they won't let us do this, or them white folks won't let you do that?
Yeah, I've heard that many times. I
All,
think I hear that almost daily.
all the time.
I think that
Hey, but why not I like that one? I'm sorry, Matron.
oh, it's okay. It's okay. I thank you for coming on the panel tonight. I appreciate you. I'm going to read the manifesto today and tomorrow because I know that Raw wants to hear it. And then I'm going to get out of here. So, the Nationalist Manifesto. The time is at hand when the Black man must pause and take serious note of the rapid current events of the world events. Life for the people of African stock has been for the past 3 centuries a relentless struggle for survival, but not so much against the forces of nature. Nay, nature blessed the African race with the richest of all continents and the finest of all climates. It has equipped the Black man with the greatest and most rugged physique among men, and the Black women whose wholesome beauty, sparkling eyes, rhythmic gait, warm, tender smile, cheerful and affectionate disposition cannot be excelled or rivaled by any other female. So we are the best of the best. The greatest menace to the Black man has been and still is the white man's diabolical and determined plan to commit genocide. Their exterminating the American Indians and the Australian Aborigines points to their murderous intent to liquidate the African people. A great Bamawagato chief asked in the late 19th century when the British were barbarously exterminating the Bamwangwatos, "Why do you kill my people?" Today, their method is more subtle but just as effective. Hundreds of thousands died in Kenya and more are quartered in compounds on a starvation ration. Death to them will come through slow, painful agony of malnutrition. This is genocide. In Cuba, under the pretense of vengeance against Batista's regime, Castro is wiping out the Black population. So Castro was not a friend to ours, according to Carlos A. Cooks. The Black man, if he has any desire to survive, will have to embrace Black nationalism totally. The greatest tools of the white supremacists are the flunky vassals, the modern day custodians of Uncle Tom's Cabin. These lackeys fought the doctrine of Marcus Garvey. These stooges today advocate civil rights, social equality, and miscegenation in America. The gang of British Toms in the West Indies see themselves as part of the British Empire and encourage the black man to sell his land and seek his fortunes in Europe, only to find upon arrival there a hungry mob of murder-bent whites waiting to bury them. It is genocide. The African Nationalist Pioneer Movement, through its executive spokesman, Carlos A. Cooks, is calling on the world of Black men to rally behind the doctrine of Black nationalism. There is no permanent future for the Black man here in America. The integrationist doctrine that has fostered so much strife is but a death trap for Blacks. Don't I tell y'all that integration is death? It is deliberately agitated by people who do not belong to the race. They are using the Black man as a distracting force to prevent what happened to them in Germany and other European countries from happening to them here. The nigger, and he does write it with the hard ER, the nigger stooges that they are using to perpetuate their clear joke would sell their own mothers into bondage for the sake of being able to move around as circus clowns in the circle of white society. They may be Black in color, but they are the psychological bastards whose fate in the final hour of reckoning will be the common end of a traitor. Next to the white man, the greatest enemies of Africa and Black opportunity are integrationists, civil rights activists, and miscegenationists. Close behind come the communists and those who would encourage the Black man to take his problems to the Lord in prayer and leave it there. There is the gang in Africa who cannot understand that they cannot and will not form any partnership between the Africans and the white man. It is not in the nature of the white man to share anything. Did he share America with the American Indian? No. Did he share Australia with the Australian Bushman? They are both dead. They are all victims of their own charity and gullibility. They too believed that they could share the land with the white man. Isn't it strange that the African leaders cannot realize that the white man shares Europe with no one? The picture in Africa from the standpoint of leadership narrows down to two states that are potentially capable of spearheading the drive for total reclamation of continental Africa. They are Egypt, which is based on the dynamic drive of the great organizer Abdel Gamal Nasser, and Sudan, which is based in its vast land area and its strategic location. Ethiopia, under the present leadership, must be written off as a futile encumbrance to the designs of a modern free Africa. You hear that? He was writing Ethiopia off back in the 50s. Liberia is but an extension of white imperialism, and Ghana is a model for a new type of British colonialism. Guinea is much too involved in the battle for survival of its own at this time to make its power felt. The position of Blacks in the Western world should and must be one of militant nationalism and marshaling the organizing of all Black people and linking up of their own power with the patriots of Africa are imperative. Organizing combat brigades, medical units, and pioneer corps are necessary. These should be organized and held in readiness so that when the hour of decision tolls, Black men everywhere would not only be willing, but they shall be able to answer the call. The conflict thickens on, ye braves. Let's charge for Africa or the grave. Wave Africa, let all your banners wave. Attack black men with all your ferocious rage. Few, few shall part where many meet. The sacred soil of Africa shall be their winding sheet, and every turf of ground beneath the invaders' sacrilegious feet shall be the white man's sepulchre. Carlos A. Cooks. And that was a Nationalist manifesto. We'll be starting tomorrow's program with that reading. The pro-black perspective says white people don't share Europe with anyone. He got everyone complaining about immigration for him. Yes, he does. The pro-black perspective wanted to know, will I reread this tomorrow? I'm going to reread this tomorrow. This is what we're going to start with, the Nationalist Manifesto. I promise. But yes, so as you can see, Carlos A. Cooks got it right. Black people need to rely on black people. There's no woman that's more beautiful than the black woman. In all the writings I've read about Haiti said that the redemption of the race starts with the redemption of the woman and black man and the restoration of the black man, woman, and child to their rightful place, which is honor, reverence, and protected. We have to get to the point where we're no longer depending on anyone for this but ourselves. White people are not supreme, Brother Bakari. White people are not supreme. White people have that idea that they're supreme, but at the end of the day, they just continue to go around doing things globally because we're not stopping them. We're not standing up as black men and black women to charge black nationalism. We have too many integrationists and they're in power. We have too many people that are willing to make petty compromises. And that's what I like about Carlos Cooks is that he's not willing to make any compromises when it comes to black people. He's not willing to make any compromises. So tomorrow we're going to reread the Nationalist Manifesto. Then we're going to read Racial Integration, a Sociological Farce, and then The Tragic Consequences of White Psychology. We may go into American Tradition Vetoes Integration. So tomorrow we will be back here at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If I'm not here at 7 o'clock, for some reason, because my aunt is in the hospital and I'm going back and forth to take care of her, to see about her, to make sure she's okay, then I'll be back Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you so much for listening. And just remember, every single thing that touches your life, whether it is religious, social, or political, must be an instrument of your liberation, or you must throw it into the ash can of history. Peace, guys.